Welcome to Health Politics with Dr. Mike McGee, a weekly program exploring important trends in health.
The U.S. Smokeless Tobacco Company is the biggest smokeless tobacco company in the United States. But I wouldn't be surprised if you've never heard of the name. The company's brands get much more exposure than the company itself, and those I'm sure you will recognize. They are Skoal and Copenhagen, and they've been around for 184 and 72 years respectively. But unlike any other time in their long history, these brands and several others like them have come face to face with a unique growth opportunity. Marketed today as socially preferable to their sickly sibling, the cigarette, smokeless tobacco products are becoming more popular, and manufacturers are on the verge of releasing a new line of products. In fact, smokeless tobacco consumption is expected to grow by 7% in 2006. Using cigarettes as a foil, smokeless tobacco products are increasingly represented as safe compared to cigarettes, clean, flavorful, and capable of providing concealable nicotine at work, at home, and in bars and restaurants where cigarettes are increasingly banned. Of course, the very serious health problems associated with smokeless tobacco, including cancer, cavities, gum disease, and heart problems, are all too often being swept under the rug, and young men in particular are increasingly at risk. It's the same old tobacco story. Try to hook your market while they're young, using products camouflaged with mild or sweet flavors to mask the deadly ingredients. But more on smokeless tobacco's targeted marketing later. First, let's take a look at what smokeless tobacco really is, how it affects the body, and why it's rising in popularity. There are two main types of smokeless tobacco: chewing tobacco and snuff. Snuff is moist, finely ground tobacco placed between cheek and gum and held there. Chewing tobacco is actual tobacco leaf, which is chewed. Both varieties contain 28 carcinogens and allow slow absorption of nicotine through the oral mucosa lining the mouth, cheeks, and gums. How much nicotine? 3 to 4 times the amount delivered by a cigarette. As for cancer, smokeless tobacco has been clearly associated with increased rates of cancer of the lip, tongue, cheeks, and gums. In spite of this, about 6% of adult U.S. men are users. Less than 0.5% of adult U.S. women partake. As for the younger crowd, 11% of high school males and 2% of high school females use the stuff, along with 3% of middle school children. The most popular brands? You guessed it, Skoal with 30% of the market and Copenhagen with 22%. As I mentioned before, these are brands of the United States Smokeless Tobacco Company. How did it alone build such a following? Well, the company goes all the way back to 1822 when George Wyman invented Copenhagen snuff in Pennsylvania. Upon his death in 1870, the company was handed over to his sons. They began calling it the United States Tobacco Company in 1922, and in 1934, Skoal, a wintergreen flavored product, was invented. The company put up its first billboard in 1943, and advertising certainly helped. In 1966, sales were at 50 million. By 1973, they had topped 100 million, and by 1992, they surpassed $1 billion. A significant portion of this success can be attributed to a couple of very successful relationships. In 1974, the company discovered a long-lasting co-product endorsement partner in the National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association. And in 1981, Skoal and NASCAR partnered up. As rodeo and NASCAR have gained popularity over the last 30 years, so has smokeless tobacco. During this time, the user base has changed. In 1970, about 13% of men over age 65 were smokeless tobacco users, compared to only 2% of those age 18 to 24. But today, there are 3 young men for every 2 older users. And that didn't just happen in a vacuum. In the early 80s, U.S. Tobacco defined a strategy to hook young users. The following excerpt from internal documents describes how the company would overcome the natural resistance of youngsters to their bitter, harsh-tasting product. Quotes, "New users of smokeless tobacco, attracted to the product for a variety of reasons, are most likely to begin with products that are milder tasting, more flavored, and or easier to control in the mouth. After a period of time, there is a natural progression of product switching to brands that are more full-bodied, less flavored, have more concentrated tobacco taste than the entry brand," close quotes. And their strategy was successful. Introduced in 1983 and 1984, Skull Bandit and Skull Long Cut were designed to graduate users up in strength as nicotine tolerance grows. Cherry flavoring was added in 1993, and by 1995, apple, peach, vanilla, and berry-flavored products accounted for 11% of snuff sales. Now what's on the horizon? Increased marketing of smokeless tobacco as socially acceptable, along with the introduction of new products. These new products, currently being test marketed in cities including Austin and Louisville, are packaged in tea bags to be placed between the lip and the gum. You discard the pouch after 10 minutes to a half an hour, and no spitting is required until that point. Another selling point, according to the manufacturer, is that smokeless tobacco eliminates secondhand smoke. Users can partake of it virtually anywhere they want. Given reasons such as these, it's no surprise that traditional tobacco companies like Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company are also test marketing new smokeless tobacco products. According to tobacco analyst Bonnie Herzog of Citigroup, smokeless tobacco products, quotes, "are another way for cigarette manufacturers to diversify the mix and improve their margins," close quote. She expects operating profit margins for smokeless tobacco are 10 to 25% higher than for cigarettes. More than 7 million Americans have used smokeless tobacco in the past month, and the numbers are growing, which means that the associated health problems are also growing. So here's my advice. For employers, prohibit smokeless tobacco at work just as you do cigarettes. For spouses, prohibit it at home. It may not generate secondhand smoke, but it's a heck of a nasty habit and a terrible example for your kids. Plus, it causes cancer and it could kill your loved one. For schools, make using smokeless tobacco a suspendable offense. And for coaches, your policy should be, you chew it, you're gone. And finally, for the National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association, for goodness sakes, find yourself another sponsor. For Health Politics, I'm Mike McGee.
Thank you for watching Health Politics with Dr. Mike McGee. If you're accessing Health Politics with a portable device, please visit our homepage, healthpolitics.org, for more information on this topic and many others. If you're watching Health Politics on the Internet, please visit the links below for additional information. Download the transcript and slides to share with friends or colleagues, or use the discussion guide to help generate conversations in the classroom. If you are not yet a Health Politics subscriber and would like to begin receiving a weekly email to keep you up to date on our latest programs, please click on Subscribe to Health Politics above and enter your email address. Again, thank you for watching Health Politics with Dr. Mike McGee.